You're not afraid of the dark, are you?
Picture this: Don King strutting into a press conference, hair looking like it just survived a lightning strike, teeth brighter than Vegas neon. The man could sell you tickets to a funeral and make you grateful for the seat. For 2 decades, he was boxing's one man circus, tightrope walker, ringmaster, and the guy who pocketed the gate. But in the summer of 1999, the FBI that nailed Gotti for clams in Queens showed up in Deerfield Beach with a warrant and a camera crew. They walked out with 2,000 pages of contracts, a shoebox of receipts, and one tiny black ledger prosecutors still call the Rosetta Stone of boxing corruption. Inside were the blueprints to an underground auction where rankings were sold like knockoff Rolexes. This is how the International Boxing Federation turned into a rigged casino, and how investigators say Don King kept the keys. Back in the mid 90s, boxing had three alphabets: the WBA, the WBC, and the IBF. The youngest, hungriest, and easiest to bribe. A number in the IBF rankings wasn't a spot on a list, it was a boarding pass to a seven-figure purse. Move your guy from 9 to 2, and boom, you're selling out Madison Square Garden. King controlled more of those passes than anyone. 17 world champions, all wearing his promotional patch, plus HBO and Showtime on speed dial. The math was brutal but simple. King picked the fights, the fighters bled, and the network wired the cash. And the IBF rubber stamped whatever piece of paper slid across the president's desk. The real action happened at conventions. In 96, King flew 40 IBF officials, judges, and a handful of lawyers to Orlando, checked them into the Grand Cypress, and told the bar to stay open until the sun came up. Total damage? $125,000. Line items as hospitality, rankings review. 1 month later, heavyweight Henry Akwanda jumped 3 spots without ever lacing a glove. Same year, King wrote a $200,000 check to the IBF labeled sanction fee overpayment for Tyson Sheldon. Actual fee was 50 grand. Prosecutors said the extra 150,000 was a rankings retainer. King blamed it on a typo, but you decide. Now meet Joseph Mafia, King's bookkeeper, CPA, and as it turned out, the most dangerous man in the room. In the 90s, the Fed nailed Mafia on unrelated tax charges and offered him a lifeline: wear a wire or wear an orange jumpsuit. For 3 months, Mafia tapped phone calls explaining how cash moved from King's office to IBA President Robert Lee Sr. through a shell company called Sports Consultants, Inc. According to Mafia, King alone funneled 350,000 through that mailbox in 96. In exchange, Lee bumped King's fighters up and iced everyone else out. Mafia's recording became the spine of a 32-count court indictment against Lee, his son, and three IBF executives. The accountant traded spreadsheets for witness protection. July 10th, 1999, 8 FBI agents, 2 IRS agents, and one search warrant breezed into King's office on North Federal Highway. 5 hours later, they hauled out boxes labeled Tyson Ledger, IBF correspondence, and the suspiciously vague miscellaneous cash. King greeted them in a silk robe, cigar, and the size of a Louis Slugger, asking if anyone wanted coffee. At the press conference, Assistant U.S. Attorney Mary Butler looked straight into the cameras and said, "Boxing is not above the law." The room went quiet enough to hear a shutter click. A grand jury convened in Newark. 50 witnesses, Bob Arum among them, described a shadow economy where ranking points swapped hands for consulting agreements. King was tagged an unindicted co-conspirator. Lawyer talk for, "We're pretty sure, but the smoking gun is missing." In 2000, the trial of Robert Lee began. Jurors heard testimony peppered with rumors, including one that King paid for Lee's daughter's $20,000 wedding reception at the Waldorf. Lee's defense? Personal gifts. After 9 weeks and 1,200 pages of testimony, Lee was convicted on money laundering and tax charges, but walked on the headline bribery counts. King left the courthouse grinning, hair still levitating. "I've done nothing wrong," he told reporters, "and I have the receipts to prove it." The earthquake rippled through the sport. Congress passed the Muhammad Ali Reform Act in 2000, forcing promoters to disclose every dollar paid to sanctioning bodies. The IBF got slapped with an independent rating committee and yearly audits. King's market share dropped from 52% of title fights to 31 in 2 years. Tim Witherspoon and other ex-champs sued King in civil court, claiming their rankings were hijacked to trap them in bad contracts. No criminal convictions, sure, but the empire shrank. King still promoted fights, still wore the flag jacket, still spoke in alterations, but the word alleged followed him like a bad nickname. Don King never spent a night in jail over the IBF scandal. The Fed seized $350,000, gave Stanley a lighter sentence, and rolled on to the next case. Boxing fans were left with a scar that won't fade. Every questionable scorecard, every overnight jump in the rankings now carries the echo of that little black ledger. The scandal proved the hardest punches aren't thrown, they're signed. King turned 94 this year and still swears he was just a businessman in a brutal game. Maybe he was. Or maybe he was the best magician the sport ever saw, making titles appear and vanish with a smile, a checkbook, and a sanctioning body willing to look the other way. The real trick? Making us watch and believe the show. If you want more stories, where the blood ends up on the ledger instead of a canvas, make sure you hit the like button. There's a whole playlist of boxing's dirty secrets just waiting. I'm Jab Queen Boxing, and this has been another episode of Boxing's Dirty Secrets, Don King and the IBF bribery scandal. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Also, we're live every Thursday and Saturday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You make sure you pull up and join an amazing boxing conversation.
You're not afraid of the dark, are you?